Today's lesson is the Canterville Ghost. Hello, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And today, Mike and myself are going to continue summarizing our featured story for the month of October, the Canterville Ghost. When I saw that title, of course, I was confusing that with the Canterbury Tales, which, of course, were written by Geoffrey Chaucer, written in Middle English. But this doesn't have anything to do with that. This is actually a short story that was published in 1887 by Oscar Wilde.
Absolutely. And it's about a very unsuccessful ghost. Well, he was successful. He was a cruel man who died hundreds of years ago in a castle. So he decided to haunt that castle, to be a ghost that lived there. And everything was going well. He scared all the local residents, the local villagers away for hundreds of years until an American family bought the castle and they weren't bothered by the ghost at all. He did all his best tricks, rattling chains, leaving blood stains on the floor. And these Americans who didn't know enough to be scared, they would clean up the blood and offer him oil for the chains and just generally kind of live with the fact that there was a ghost around, but they definitely weren't scared. And so this left our ghost, Sir Simon de Canterville, very sad. He's not good at being a ghost anymore.
So what is a ghost to do? If people aren't scared of you, what kind of ghost are you? You probably might want to consider a change in careers. So let's go on now with our story. Let's continue and find out what happens next involving Little Virginia. Let's find out what this is all about. Let's listen to the first part.
The only member of the Otis family who didn't totally dismiss Sir Simon was Virginia, a thoughtful teenage girl. She had been watching Sir Simon's attempts at haunting grow less passionate and had begun to feel a deep sympathy for him. The two struck up an odd relationship, and over time, Sir Simon opened up to Virginia about both his past and his current state of affairs.
各位好。第一部分我们看到动词 dismiss 指不理会、不考虑。例如 Peter dismissed his daughter's claim of seeing a ghost as a figment of her imagination. Peter 的女儿声称看到鬼，他把这看作他的想象，不予理会。或是 The woman dismissed her cleaner because she no longer needed her services. 那位女士遣散了打扫人员，因为她不再需要她的服务了。再来我们看到片语 strike up 表示建立或是开始……像是 Kevin struck up a partnership with Chuck when he opened this beauty shop. Kevin 开这间美容院时和 Chuck 建立了合伙关系。或是 Even though I went to school with that boy for many years, we never struck up a friendship. 尽管我和那位男孩同校好几年，却从来没有变成朋友。另外以下补充两个包含 strike 的相关片语。第一 strike out 表示失败或是搞砸。举例来说Arnold struck out in the interview due to his lack of knowledge about the company. Arnold 由于不了解这间公司而搞砸了面试。第二 strike it rich 表示一夕致富。我们可以说 Denise hopes to strike it rich when she starts selling her paintings. Denise 开始出售自己的画作，希望能一夕致富。
Okay, let's summarize the first part of today's lesson here. The only member of the Otis family who didn't totally dismiss Sir Simon was Virginia, a thoughtful teenage girl. So basically we're saying that every member of the Otis family dismissed the ghost. They didn't think the ghost was worth worrying about. I guess they recognized that the ghost was there, but they were okay with that. They probably thought ghosts are everywhere, we might as well be friends with them, and we're not scared of you. Maybe because we're Americans and English ghosts can't scare Americans and vice versa. But in any case here, the teenage girl didn't really feel that way. I guess maybe she felt sorry for Sir Simon and maybe wanted to help him out.
That's right. Everyone else was brushing him off, to use that phrase from yesterday. They're like, yeah, he's a ghost, but don't pay any attention to him. And that's not really good for Sir Simon. But yes, Virginia, she's a thoughtful teenage girl. She's a little more sensitive. When we say someone is thoughtful, we're kind of talking they're more sensitive, they're more compassionate, they're more kind. They kind of think about another person's feelings, try to put themselves in that person's shoes. So she's like, hey, if I was a ghost and I was doing all this stuff and no one was scared, that would make me sad. So she was, a little bit more sympathetic and a little bit kinder to Sir Simon. It says she had been watching Sir Simon's attempts at haunting grow less passionate and had begun to feel a deep sympathy for him. Oh, that's
Poor guy.
That's so sweet. So she'd been watching Sir Simon, with the blood stains and the rattling chains. And then when they would clean up the blood stains and the rattling chains, Sir Simon would try to haunt again and he might go, boo. Something like that. So his attempts at haunting are growing less passionate. If something's passionate, it's full of passion. It's full of love and energy and excitement, and you really want to do something. If you're becoming less passionate, you're kind of becoming not interested anymore. You're losing your joy. You're not really having fun or liking what you used to like before. So this is this idea of this ghost, not trying really hard anymore because he's depressed and it's just not working. He's like, why do I do this every day?
Yeah, we just assume that ghosts are always successful, that they always scare people.
They just love scaring. That's all they do, right?
They do that, and they love it, and everybody's scared of them. They don't have any reason to believe that they won't ever stop scaring somebody, that they always will be able to scare people. In this particular case, the Otis family didn't feel that way. They were not scared by him, so she was quite thoughtful. Maybe she was sympathetic, and maybe she had some passion. And his attempts at haunting were just not sincere anymore. They were less passionate. And, of course, she began to feel a deep sympathy for him. If you have sympathy for somebody, I guess you could say you have compassion. But sympathy means you feel sorry for them, especially if something bad has happened to the other person. You might be sympathetic to your friend if they got divorced or something like that, or if their grandfather died.
That's right. So what happened? The two struck up an odd relationship. They became friends, and over time, Sir Simon opened up to Virginia about both his past and his current state of affairs. So again, this is an unusual ghost story. We have a girl kind of becoming friends with the ghost, and I guess they start talking to each other. She can see him. He comes out during the daytime. They sit around, they chat. They strike up an odd relationship. When you strike up a relationship, basically means you begin a relationship, and the relationship kind of grows. But this is the first steps or the first stages in a relationship. It might be someone you just happen to meet. You sit next to someone on a long airplane flight and you start talking, and then by the end you realize, I like this person. We have a lot in common. You might exchange email or phone numbers or something like that. And that is the beginning steps or the beginning chapter of your friendship, of your relationship. So that's what happened. They began a relationship, and over time, over days and weeks as they chatted and got to know each other, Sir Simon opened up to Virginia about both his past and his current state of affairs. Well, I was a knight, and yes, I did a terrible thing to my wife, but I've had a long time to think about that, and now I'm just trying to be the best ghost I can be. And she might be explaining her problems as a teenage girl living in a foreign country. This is not your normal ghost story.
Indeed, most of us are scared to death of ghosts, and we would never think about trying to actually have a conversation with them. And
or become friends with them.
Or become friends with them. And I suppose if we did try to strike up a conversation with them or to try to be friends with them, they might get even more upset and try to scare us even more. But that's not the case here. They have an unusual or an odd relationship. I guess it's an unusual friendship here. And he began to trust her more and more, and he opened up. He began to talk about more personal things. He talked about his past, and he also talked about his current situation or his current state of affairs. Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's move on now to the second part.
Sir Simon explained that he felt greatly ashamed of the crime he had committed, and all he wanted now was to sleep, something he hadn't done for over 300 years. With her kind heart, Virginia offered to help him. Sir Simon gratefully accepted, and he and Virginia departed together for parts unknown.
第二部分我们看到形容词 ashamed， 指感到羞愧的或是难为情的。举例来说 When I feel ashamed, my ears turn red. 我感到难为情时，耳朵会变红。另外补充一个相关片语 be ashamed of 表示以点点点为耻。我们可以说 Ellen was ashamed of her brother when she learned he had been arrested. Ellen 听说自己哥哥被逮捕时感到很丢脸。接着我们看到单字 gratefully， 这个字是副词，指感激的或是感谢的。例如 On my birthday, I gratefully accepted gifts from my friends. 在我生日那天，我感激地收下我朋友们的礼物。
Okay, here's the second part, and here's how our story continues. Sir Simon, the ghost, explained that he felt greatly ashamed of the crime he had committed, and all he wanted now was to sleep, something he hadn't done for over 300 years.
Wow.
So he was explaining this to the young girl, Virginia, and he said, well, I feel really ashamed about the crime that I had committed. If you're ashamed about something, you feel bad about something, you feel embarrassed about something you have done, you might be ashamed of having stolen money from the company or something like that. What was I thinking then? I was not really smart. I was just a kid then, and now I really regret it. I am ashamed of what I did.
That's right, and he's ashamed of the crime he committed. When we commit a crime, we basically perform something illegal, all right? So this is more of a formal way of saying it, but we would also just use this to talk, oh, my cousin's in jail. He committed a crime, right? He did something against the law. He did something illegal, and the police have caught that person. So instead of saying he did a crime, we often use this slightly more formal verb to commit a crime, all right? So yes, he did something bad. He feels bad about that. He feels ashamed about that and says all he wanted now was to sleep. He just wants to go to sleep because, I guess ghosts have to be haunting all night. They can't go to sleep. He hasn't been to sleep for over 300 years. So that's a really long time. So he feels bad. He also just feels tired. He just wants things to, sort of stabilize in his life a little bit. And Virginia, this young girl, she's listening. And with her kind heart, remember, she feels sympathy for him. She feels kindness and, she feels bad and wants to help him. With her kind heart, Virginia offered to help him. Okay, well, that's very nice of her.
Yeah, I wonder how a living person or a mortal can help out a ghost.
Good point.
I have a feeling this story will tell us how she managed to help him out. Sir Simon gratefully accepted her offer of help, and he and Virginia departed together for parts unknown. So gratefully here is an adverb. The adjective is grateful. If somebody does you a favor, you should be grateful, or you should gratefully thank them. And in this particular case, the young girl, Virginia, offered her help to him, and he accepted gratefully. He was thankful, he appreciated her help, and he accepted her offer, and then they left. They departed together for parts unknown. Parts unknown just means someplace that we don't know about. We don't know where the heck they're going.
Interesting, but probably not a place in the world. Probably some place in, the spirit world or something like that.
The afterworld or something. Hopefully the ghost is not taking her to hell.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our summary for today. Let's move on now to the third part.
The Otis family became quite worried when they couldn't find Virginia, but she returned soon enough, alone and holding a small box filled with precious gems. It was a gift from Sir Simon, who was never heard from again. Virginia never revealed the exact details of her experience with Sir Simon, but years later she explained to her husband that the ghost had helped her understand what life is, what death signifies, and why love is stronger than both.
第三部分我们看到名词 gem 指宝石或是瑰宝，也可以是受人喜爱的人或物，像是 Mary wore a ring that had a few fake gems on it. Mary 戴的戒指上有几颗假宝石，或是 This pristine beach is one of the island's hidden gems. 这个原始海滩是该岛鲜为人知的珍宝之一。再举一个例子 This small bookstore is just one of the hidden gems to be found in the neighborhood. 这家小书店只是此地隐而待访的好地方之一。最后我们看到单字 signify， 这个字是动词，指表示或是意味着。例如 Casey offered his foreign colleague a small gift to signify his appreciation. Casey 给他的外籍同事一份礼物，以示感谢。或是 The stars on the US flag signify the 50 states. 美国国旗上的星星代表着50个州。
Okay, let's continue now with the third part here. I suppose if you were the mom and dad of this young girl, you would be very worried when your daughter disappears. So the Otis family became quite worried when they couldn't find Virginia. Where has she gone? Has she been abducted? Did she get into an accident? Did she accidentally drown in a nearby river or something like that? Of course, they were very worried, but she returned soon enough. She returned soon enough so that they didn't have to worry anymore. But she was alone, and she was holding a small box filled with precious gems. So, yeah, she came back, but also she had this small box that had these gemstones in it.
Interesting. Gems, of course, are expensive rocks. When we think of gems, we think of precious stones like rubies, emeralds, diamonds, sapphires, and things like that. So, treasure, basically. She came back with a small box filled with treasure or with something you might put on jewelry, things like these precious stones, these gems. Where did she get this stuff and where was she? Well, we find out a little bit next. It says it was a gift. The small box with the gems, it was a gift from Sir Simon, who was never heard from again. Wow. Ooh. So this is probably something he gave to Virginia to thank her for the help that she gave him. And I guess that help was quite successful because he was never heard from again. He never appeared in the castle ever again. He never haunted anyone. He never went boo during the middle of the night. He just disappeared. Where exactly did he go? We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know, but we must assume here that he's decided not to bother them anymore because of the favor that Virginia gave him. She offered to accompany him, and she listened to his problems and stuff like that. So I guess a little bit of forgiveness goes a long way here, and she was awarded with a small box filled with precious gems. And Virginia never revealed the exact details of her experience with Sir Simon, but years later she explained to her husband that the ghost had helped her understand what life is, what death signifies, and why love is stronger than both. That's a pretty long sentence, and it tells us a lot, so let's go back to the beginning and talk about it. It says, Virginia never revealed the exact details of her experience with Sir Simon. So they probably asked her, where'd you go? What happened? Tell us. But she never really told them. Maybe she wasn't supposed to. Maybe the ghost told her not to, and she decided to keep her promise.
That's right. And very, very interesting. But years later, she explained to her husband that the ghost had helped her understand what life is, what death signifies, and why love is stronger than both. He basically gave her a lot of wisdom, a lot of life wisdom, a lot of good ideas, the kind of things you might expect someone who had been living for 400 years, who had done terrible things, who had tried to do the good thing afterwards, someone who'd lived a very meaningful or a very wide-ranging life, the kind of things that they would know, the kind of wisdom they would be able to share about what life is, what is the meaning of life, what does death signify, and why love is stronger than both life and death. Wow, that's some deep and heavy stuff. And yeah, when we talk about death signifying something, well, to signify, basically it represents. This is what it means. This is the message that it's giving us. Maybe it's not using words. Maybe the message isn't that clear. Maybe we need to understand some things to really get it, to really understand. But, in the same way that we can talk about red on a street sign signifies danger or stop or something like that, a flag will signify a country, that kind of thing. When we see certain letters, DR signifies doctor in someone's name or in their job title or something like that. It's a message, it's carrying information, but maybe that information is a little bit hard to understand, or you need to know some things before you get it. So what does death signify? What is the meaning of death? Is it just the end of your life, or is it the beginning of your stay in heaven? Is it just showing that time changes and, that kind of thing? So this is some pretty deep and heavy stuff that Virginia learned from Sir Simon.
Yeah, these are some questions that we just can't answer. What is life? What is death? What does it mean? And why is love stronger than both life and death? A lot of us go to our graves without ever answering these questions, but Virginia was fortunate. She got the answers to those questions just because she was nice to this ghost. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Let's now listen to our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第二部分的第一句提到说 Sir Simon 对于自己所犯下的罪行感到相当羞愧，如今他只想睡一觉，这是他300多年来从未做过的事。好，文中他用到 All he wanted now was to sleep。那我们来介绍这样的句型哦。All that somebody want is 什么什么，或者是 all somebody want is 什么什么，就表示某人唯一想要的是某人只想要什么什么。好，句子里面这个 all 它是先行词，相当于 the only thing。后面的关系子句 that somebody want 则是用来修饰前面这个 all， 所以 all that somebody want就表示某人唯一想要的事物，这个 that 是可以省略的。那要特别注意的是 all 它是代名词，要视为单数，因此我们后面是搭配单数动词 is。那接着呢，我们就可以在 is 的后面接不定词或是名词，像课文就是用过去式的方式来表达，然后它在 be 动词 was 后面接不定词 to sleep。好，那我们来造一个在 is 后面接名词的例句哦。All I want is your love。我唯一想要的就是你的爱，也就是说我只要你的爱。那么另外要提醒同学们，如果 that 引导的关系子句里面呢，动词有包含 do 的话，这个句尾的不定词通常会省略 to。举例来说 All I want to do is go home and sleep。 我唯一想做的事就是回家睡觉，那句子里面这个 go 的前面就是省略了 to。我们再补充几个有相同用法的常见句型。第一个呢，我们可以用 All that somebody need to do is 什么什么，就是某人唯一需要做的事是什么什么。第二个句型是 All that somebody can do is 什么什么，某人唯一能做的事情就是什么。那么第三个是 All that somebody have to do is 点点点，也就是说某人只需要做的事就是点点点。那这些句型里面的 that 子句里面呢都有 do， 所以在 is 后面接不定词的话呢，那个 to v 不定词的 to 是可以省略的哦。举例来说All you need to do is believe in yourself。 你唯一需要做的就是相信自己。All you have to do is press the button。 你只需要按这个按钮就可以咯。All we can do is wait。 我们唯一能做的事情就是等待了。好，那课文最后写到，多年后 Virginia 向丈夫解释 Sir Simon 也就是那一位幽灵曾经帮助她了解到生命是什么，死亡意味着什么，以及为什么爱比这两者都还要强大。好，那文中用到补充单字 signify 来表达表示意味着。我们来学习这个字的字首字根。先来看 sign 这个字根呢，它有标记啊、指示、符号或者是签署，像签名签署的那个意思。那么像 signal 就是由 sign 加上名词字尾 AL 而来的， signal 用来指信号。而我们这个单字 signify 它的字根 sign 表示标示。 那么 ify 是动词字尾。当我们要把某事物特别标出来，就是为了标示出它的重要性，或是为了要说明它的含义。用这种方式应该可以联想到 signify， 它有意味着、表示、表明、示意的这些意思。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Dismiss.
Steve's idea was dismissed by his boss as being too impractical.
Thoughtful. Ingrid is an incredibly thoughtful woman, and you are lucky to have her in your life. Passionate. Olivia is passionate about visual art and visits a lot of galleries. Sympathy. Nicola has a great deal of sympathy for people who are experiencing misfortune. Ashamed. I have a secret I need to share, but I'm too ashamed to tell anyone. Commit. If you commit a crime, you will be caught and punished. Gratefully. Francine gratefully accepted Greg's help and promised to return the favor.
Discussion starter starts now!
Okay, it's time now for our discussion starter. Here's the question. Would you have helped Sir Simon if you had been in Virginia's position? Why or why not?
I would have definitely helped Sir Simon because that would make for an interesting story. In real life, I'm not sure I would have helped Sir Simon, but I definitely would have run to get my camera to try to capture a ghost on film because that could probably make me a lot of money.
Indeed, yeah. So if I had been in Virginia's position, I would have been really scared because I've never seen a ghost before, and I probably would have been too scared to offer him any help. But I think your suggestion there is pretty good. Try to get a camera, whip out your smartphone, take a video, and if it's successful, post it on YouTube, and you can make a ton of money for actually filming a live ghost.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.